Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Drink with Crazy. What's going on, everybody? Give me just a moment. My lovely wife texted me as the show was beginning. I want to text her back real quick. All right. How's everybody doing? Okay, as I told you guys a few weeks back, I think it's going to be important moving forward that we all start the live streams off with a prayer and ask for God to make sure that we stay in his charity and love, and that, you know, we use the words tonight in his favor. So in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. All right, God bless everybody. Thank you all so much for joining. We've got Evelyn Music down there. We've got Mario Trujillo and Maji Chan. What's going on, everybody? And a man who's probably needs no introduction to this audience here. I should oh, I think your mic's off, man.
I just unmuted it.
Oh, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Andy Andrew from the Rippaverse. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Royce? What's going on, chat? It's good to be back. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
I've been busy. You've been busy.
Yes.
Things happen. Life happens. But, you know, we're blessed to always be able to break bread or fellowship with those who we align with and enjoy space with. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad, dude. I'm glad to hear it, man. No, it's really important, especially, you know, I think a lot of people are looking at the state of the world, and, you know, we're trying to find, you know, a lot of people are trying to find their guidance. They're trying to find a way back to, you know, sanity. They're trying to find their way back, and it's, you know, especially, I think, you know, the internet got freed up a lot lately, so it's, you know, it's a lot easier for guys like us to get together now and be like, hey, we're going to talk and we're going to join together with our communities and with people who are like-minded with it, because they tried to shut us down for a long time.
They did.
And
they did.
It didn't work yet.
Not yet, thankfully.
Not yet, thankfully.
I'm glad it's in a spot now where, you know, there's less of that going on, or when it does happen, it's usually in pockets.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of nonsense. There's still a lot of mess and a lot of noise out there.
Oh,
but yeah. I am grateful for the fact that we do have more spaces now where we're able to speak a bit more freely, without fear of reprisal, I guess, for no reason.
You know, and one of the things too that I realized as well is, like, it's part of the reason where'd Andrew's glasses go?
They disappeared.
They just, yeah. I don't know. He's been putting them on and
I'm
taking
Superman
them off.
right
I don't
now.
know what he's.
So I take them off when I notice the glare in them from the ring light, and it bothers the crap out of me, and so I take them off because they distract me.
Right. Oh, Maji Chan says she sent super chat through PayPal. Oh,
I keep
forgetting about that. Thank you so much. That's probably the best way to do that. So Maji Chan for $10. This is Andrew. Make sure you roast Royce hard tonight. It's been so long since anyone has given him a hard time. He has gotten comfortable.
The thing is, with Royce, he gives as good as he takes. That sounds pretty homosexual.
Let's please don't put that on the internet.
yeah, that doesn't need to be clipped. Oh, well, that's over. No, you and I were as each other pretty equivalently, I think.
Oh yeah. I don't think there's ever been from the first time I think we were on stream with each other. It didn't stop. It was really funny because usually I don't get that many one-liners back at people, but for some reason I'm just like, I can go after this guy pretty good.
I guess I'm an easy target. It's fine.
So am I. So I guess that you know, what do they say? Birds of a feather and all that.
Yeah, why not? I'm here for it. What matters is that we're having a good time, right?
Yeah. Dude, it's awesome. So that, you know, obviously working with the Rippaverse, you've been working with the Rippaverse for a long time. You started off as social media manager and all that, and now you're entering into creating a character for the Rippaverse. But I want to hit the rewind button a little bit, and I want to go way back. I want to go back to before you're in the Rippaverse. Like, I want to go back to where, like, how, like, where the journey begins for you doing, like, social media stuff, getting into comics, this whole thing. Like, where's that starting point that, like, puts you in the place, even when you were a kid, what got you interested, and then eventually you start working with Eric July, and now you're here. Like, let's cover some ground tonight.
Oh boy. Yeah. Why don't we? Screw
Yeah.
it. We'll do it live. Yeah, that's quite the rewind. Let's find the starting line. The starting line for Andrew in terms of love of comic books is twofold. One of which is when I used to go with my folks to the grocery store. If I behaved myself, which naturally I always did,
Yeah.
I would get to pick out a couple of Sonic the Hedgehog comics off of the magazine rack, back when those still used to be on magazine racks. They
I
don't do that
remember.
anymore.
Pepperidge
Yeah,
Farm
you remember.
remembers too. I remember.
Pepperidge Farm remembers. Yeah, but most people these days don't remember because it was either too dang long ago or they weren't alive yet.
Now manga covers those racks. Have you noticed that? If you walk by anything that's got any sort of like pop culture media in the store, like a Walmart or something, and manga is there. Like My Hero Academia was there, a bunch of stuff.
That's really surprising. Actually, no, that's not surprising. I take it back. It's because of how much it's permeated culture, especially if we're talking like the popular ones in the West, right? Your One Piece, your Naruto, or Boruto now, I guess, your Dragon Ball, and all of that stuff. My Hero Academia, as you said, maybe Demon Slayer, stuff like that. You know what? That actually makes sense, and that's smart because you're getting it in front of more eyes that way. Because the fact of the matter is, there aren't many comic book shops left, and these days, people are really only going into comic book shops who already have the habit of going into comic book shops. So they're going in not for discoverability, not for browsing around for the most part. They're going in there because they have a weekly pull list and they're grabbing their weekly pulls. Or maybe they also go there because they play D&D with the friends there. They play Magic the Gathering or any other trading card game, right?
Most of them aren't comic shops anymore. Most of them are game shops now.
Correct. That also happen to carry comics, but they make more profit off of the other stuff, right? And they have to diversify that way because of the way that the Western comic book market has been for the last several years. And they're smart for doing so, but it's unfortunate that comics don't just kind of have their own space anymore. It has to also have manga. It has to also have all this other stuff. But I do like to support mom and pop shops. I love my local comic shop guys. They're great guys. And so I'm glad that they're intelligent enough to say, hey, we still have people here that, they have a roof over the head because they have a job, right? And so we're gonna do what we have to. But tracking back, I would be able to grab some Sonic the Hedgehog comics. This is when they were at Archie, not IDW.
Oh, wow.
So this was a while ago.
Yeah.
I have the complete collection of the Fleetway line and the Archie line, and I have all the omnibus collections, the hardcover omnibus collections for IDW. I was collecting the singles for those for a while, and then I stopped buying comics for a couple of years because I couldn't afford it. And so I wound up just saying, screw it. I like how these hardcovers look. I'm just gonna, every single time they drop one of the hardcovers, that's how I'm catching up slowly. As they release those. So I'm doing that. So I have all the stuff for Sonic. I'm a major Sonic fan, which will tie into Blue Shift, actually, because I got one of the voice actors for the Sonic games to voice my character in my trailer.
That's dope.
Yeah. My favorite Sonic voice actor voiced him too. So not just anyone.
All right, don't jump ahead. Okay. But that's a nice teaser. Like, you guys got to hang out to hear who it is.
Yeah, you're going to have to wait for that baton to be popped.
That's awesome.
So, but from there, my introduction.
Hold on, I gotta say it. Ram. Sorry, I gotta say it.
My introduction to superhero comics. I had just moved to the Bay Area, California. This is back when it wasn't.
That explains so much.
Crap show. You shut your whore mouth. Damn it! I'm not helping myself. we had just moved to a new neighborhood, nice neighborhood, just had our house built. And we were doing my dad and I, we were going around to like yard sales and garage sales just to see, like, we just moved here. Maybe we can meet some new neighbors. We can see if there's stuff that we can grab for our place that we just got. And we go to one, and I guess the son of the family there had just like gone away to college, and they were like selling off, a bunch of stuff, including some of his comic books. And my dad picked up two comic books off of one of the tables, and it was Man of Steel Superman #0 and The Flash #0. I actually have, though not my original copies, those are in storage. I have signed copies of those in one of my short boxes here in my room, which is pretty cool. But this was the cover of The Flash. This is in one of my omnibus collections. So
that's cool.
That was my first ever Flash comic, and one of my first two in general ever superhero comics. And from there, I was kind of off to the races because those two characters kind of embodied hope. They embodied goodness. And so I've always loved Superman, but I've especially loved the Flash because this whole thing was running. And I was always a small kid. So I kind of got picked on, but I was also always the fastest kid. So they couldn't catch me.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I can jam with this, right? Like, all right, this whole thing's running fast. I already like the kind of speedster archetype because I was a big Sonic fan already, right? And so I started getting caught up on like the older comics and just kind of reading from there. And on my shelf behind me, I have at least what has been collected in trade. That's not counting single issues that I have in storage. I have everything from post Crisis on Infinite Earths to the present in trade or omnibus for the Flash. So that's, to put that into context and into perspective, that's from 1987 to now.
Oh,
for the Flash.
So you are definitely a Flash fan.
I'm definitely a Flash fan, but I love not only the Flash, but I love Quicksilver. I love Velocity, who is a speedster over at Image Comics, who was part of the Cyberforce super team there. And actually it was her hair color, which is what I gave my character when I created him. Because my character is meant to be like a love letter and an homage to a bunch of the things that I love. And yeah, that kind of got me going on comic books. And so I've been reading them ever since. There have been a couple of pockets where, I took a couple of years off because for whatever reason, I either couldn't afford it or just fell out because the stories weren't good anymore for a little while. That happened a couple of times. But I would always find myself going back and then catching up and be like, okay, so the current stuff now is good again, at least for now. Let's see what I missed. Let's see if it's worth it. And I get caught up because it's much cheaper to like buy the trade of, 6 issues that you missed or 12 issues that you missed or whatever, right? Even the whole run, that's still way cheaper than buying every single issue as it's releasing in that run. Right. So it wasn't a big deal. And so I would end up doing that. Fast forward, social media, I started doing that with Eric July part-time back in 2021. Yeah, I want to say it was like November 2021. I had been, we'll say, wrongfully dismissed from my managerial position at GameStop during the COVID nonsense.
Oh, wow.
And the only job that I could find at the time, because, everything was either shut down or very limited and, how long they were open, things like that. Everything was a crap show.
Dark times. Yep.
Yeah. I was working as a department manager for Dick's Sporting Goods. So I was doing that part-time. And it wound up becoming full-time, thankfully, because it's what I needed in order to pay my bills, have a roof overhead, pay my car and all of that. I wound up kind of reaching out to Eric because he was doing a stream talking about he was going to be kind of revamping his website, revamping his brand. He was going to be launching this Rippaverse thing in the near future. And he was kind of trying to prepare for that. And I shot him a DM and I was like, hey, man, I don't know all what you need, but, these are my skills. And just want to put my name in the hat in case you have need for any of these skills. And he wound up messaging me and he said, you know what? Let's put a pin in that. I'm going to circle back to you after I sort some other things out. And he wound up actually messaging me. I think I was streaming Cyberpunk at the time. He DM'd me a few months later and was like, hey,
back when
I know
it was
you're live
broken?
right now. Well, it's so funny. So this has been like a running gag in my community where like the games that everybody seems to have massive issues with in terms of like performance and optimization, because the optimization is just genuinely bad.
Hmm.
I end up somehow skirting by and not having a fraction of the issues that other people have. Like I didn't have any of those like crashing issues with
Dude,
Cyberpunk that people were having.
I remember Eric posting gameplay of
He
his and like the
lost his
T
mind.
poses and all that. Like I remember that, and I was just
I
like,
do
"Oh my
too.
god, this is horrible."
I was in those stream chats when he was doing that, and I remember
Wow.
laughing my butt off and being like, "Man, I'm glad I'm not having the same problems he is. I'm able to play it and stream it just fine, right? No issues." It was the same thing with Elden Ring. It was the same thing with Hogwarts Legacy. It was the same thing with Stellar Blade and a couple other games where like apparently the optimization was really awful for a significant percentage, like an unacceptable
Oh yeah.
percentage of players. Um, but I just kind of wound up being part of the lucky few that didn't have those issues. So I was like, I'm not going to complain or anything. I would have been happy for them to like push releases back a couple of months, like sort out optimization a bit better,
Mhm.
because it's not fair or right for other people to like have to deal with that.
Well,
Especially
especially
when
when
they're
you're
already
you're you know
paying so much for a
you're
game.
handing money for a promised product, and
Exactly.
the idea is like, oh, we'll fix it later. It's like, no, that's almost tantamount to theft, and I
That
don't like
mentality,
that.
the "we'll fix it in post,"
Yeah.
that has been prevalent since really the Xbox 360 and PS3 era where, these developers can if the a lot of it is more on the publishers saying, "Hey, this is our release date. You have to put it out by now, by this time." And the devs can be like, "Well, what if we still need to do more testing?" They're like,
Mhm.
You'll just fix it afterwards. You'll put it out in a patch. Maybe it'll be a day one patch or whatever like that." And I hate that mentality.
Mhm.
I get that they want to recoup the fees, especially with how much more expensive a lot of these games are getting for their development. But still, man, like you shoot yourself in the foot when you put out a product that either doesn't perform as it ought to or is just flat out broken on release. Because then what happens? You have what happened with people who had Cyberpunk on the PlayStation platform, where Sony was flat out refunding people's purchases.
Sony never refunds.
Like
I don't,
Sony doing that?
yeah, that I
Man,
remember that. That was wild. That's when I was just like,
that's how
oh,
you know you screwed up,
yeah, because
right?
Sony loves their money and they're
Oh,
not gonna
yeah, they
part
do.
with it. And even when Sony parts with it, like,
That
oof,
it that speaks a lot to like the
uh-huh.
problems that were happening. And so, you know,
Uh,
I do remember those streams and that was fun. But
Everly
Eric
Music
wound
says, was it the same way with AC4 and RE8?
um Assassin's Creed 4 is not an Assassin's Creed game. It's a pirate simulator.
Uh,
Um so
that's what I've
uh
heard.
yeah, I know people love Black Flag, but it's not
I
a good Assassin's Creed game, but it's probably the best pirate game that's ever been made, to be
I
honest.
I am in the like extreme minority of people. So I played the first Assassin's Creed. That's the only one that I've ever played.
Oh, you only played
And
the original. Okay.
I played the OG one, yeah, back in the day. And
One with Altair ibn Alahad.
but here's the thing, my favorite character was Desmond Miles. I
Oh, okay.
liked
So
what
you
they
were
were doing.
invested in the modern
I was
day.
invested in that, and I wanted to see how they were going to bridge that gap eventually, and that hopefully we get to like modern day assassin
Oh, the
stuff.
thing they gave us like 15 minutes of in Assassin's
Eh,
Creed 3 and then he died.
yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, and when my buddy told me that, I was like, I have no interest in playing the games. Yeah, but and apparently they've done reviews and polls and all kinds of stuff, and like I am like in the extreme, like the extreme minority, like 1 to 2% of the fans actually cared about that.
I was one of the people who did not really care about Desmond, but I was interested enough to where I thought that's where they were going with it. I thought
Hmm.
that at some point, maybe it was going to be Assassin's Creed 4 that was actually the modern day one, right? And I would have bought it. I would have been fine with it, but I played through 3 and I already didn't like 3. It was abysmally boring. And I liked the colonial period, but the character was boring. Actually, the character you play as for the first 3 chapters, the main character's father, who winds up actually being a Templar and not an assassin, Hatham
Hmm.
Kenway, he's more interesting. His story was
Interesting.
actually it was an interesting flip where it was like
Hmm.
because the entire time the gameplay feels like you're playing as an assassin, and then there's a reveal in one of the early chapters where you're like, I've been playing as a Templar.
That's a good.
What the hell?
That's a good flip.
And they did it really well to where it kind of it was a genuine surprise, right? It was a genuine twist, and I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. I like this guy. And then we skip forward and we play as his son, who's the most stoic and is one dimensional and kind of stoic and boring Altair was in the first game. Like he goes through some growth. Connor in 3, none. He's just so boring. But
Well,
anyway,
that's the problem too. Is like the first one was proof of concept,
it felt proof of concept. It was a very
and
basic game.
yeah, I put a lot of hours into it. I really enjoyed that. But again, I remember it at the time,
Mhm.
and and again at that time, it's like holy crap. And now it's just like I mean, look what's happening to Ubisoft now. But
Yeah. Now all of their games play like an Assassin's Creed
I
game,
know
right? They took that formula and copy pasted it into everything that they
yeah,
do, which is
it's
unfortunate because you took something like that could work somewhere, but unfortunately that formula has permeated the industry to where so many open world action adventure games now just do the exact same thing. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go to this waypoint. I'm gonna unlock this tower that's gonna open up some of the map, and then I'm gonna see where more side quests are that are kind of useless, but they give me stuff, and I'm gonna just do this ad nauseum for 80 plus hours. It's
yeah,
not particularly enjoyable. Not anymore, anyway.
no.
Um,
Especially as an adult. Like I don't want to play an 80-hour game. I'm good for if a game gives me like 35 to 40 hours, I'm good. I think I got my money's worth out of it. But much more than that, it's like that's part of the reason I don't sit down and play a lot of stuff anymore. It's just like there's so much else that I'm doing in my life. It's like,
sure, you got a family.
you know, and well, family, work, have barbecues on the weekend and stuff. Obviously, chores, house chores, and stuff like that. And it's just like, okay, I could sit here and or like I love listening to like documentaries and stuff like that. So I'm
Mhm.
constantly just in a state of like learning. And it's like, okay, do I want to go play a video game for a while, or do I want to sit here and listen to this documentary about this really interesting,
I tend to fall
historical?
asleep to documentaries. Like literally, like when I'm laying down at night, that's what I put on. I'll put a
I
documentary or something on my phone, and I
Oh,
fall
I
asleep to
can't.
those.
My brain, unless it's a documentary I've heard like 3 or 4 times, I can't.
Oh,
Like,
really?
especially like a lot of YouTube document. Oh yeah, no. My brain hardwires into that. My brain's just like, and we're up for a while. There's no,
That's fair.
there's no like I can fall asleep to like news, like
Okay.
news.
Man, I
Well, like
avoid the news like the plague these
the I
days.
think the only person that I watch that even covers news lately anymore is like Tim Pool. And like I don't go to
Mm,
him for like to form my opinions. I more just go to see like what's being talked, like what stories
right.
are out that day. Because that's really, I mean, that's what he's good for, and that's about it.
That's fair.
So, but anyway, so getting back to it, so you're live streaming Cyberpunk, having no issues at all, and
Yep.
Eric apparently
One of the 3
messages,
people.
right?
Eric messages me on Twitter and says, "Hey man, I know you're live, but I wanted to circle back to what we talked about a couple of months ago, and I think I might have something for you." And so I message him back after I wrap up my show, and we talk back and forth a little bit about what he needs and what I feel like I can bring to the table. And so he said, okay, well then let's start off with something temporary and kind of part time. And so I wound up handling social media on his Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and then doing content curation on his YouTube. So working with his YouTube video editor as well as like graphic designer just to, work as kind of quality control. And since I was kind of at the time, I was like pretty dialed in on everything that he would end up talking about, usually on his shows or in his videos. I knew what to kind of look for in terms of like what's going to look good on the thumbnail here, things like that. Um, and he put kind of the caveat there that, like, depending on how this goes and depending on how my comic book launch goes at some point next year, we can revisit this and maybe this turns into something full time, right?
That's dope.
Which was cool.
And
That was a cool thing to kind of like know up front,
right.
right? As you know, that it's important. And I don't know how often this really happens in the job market these days, where like when you take a job or when you're interviewing for a job, that there's a genuine presentation of upward mobility,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's actually something you can shoot for that's more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it the fact of the matter is most people are never going to enjoy their job or love their job. Um, but if you have a job that puts a roof over your head and food on your family's table,
Mm-hmm.
that's something worth feeling blessed about, right? Because that's something a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
And so I was like, cool, like that this could be something even more, right? At that time, when it was just the part-time thing, it was basically like having another check each month for me, which at that time was a big deal because this
Oh
was
yeah.
again during COVID, and the world was a nightmare at the time. But I did that so that was what, November 2021, and then July of 2022 is when he launched the Rippaverse. I someone made $3.7 million, and we were
I remember that. I got a couple of copies of it
there's
sitting here.
the rest is history there for the most
That's
part.
right. And I know I've had you on a few times, and you guys have talked about the workload, and you guys are just like, you basically, we hold our breath and start running and hope we don't pass out.
Yeah,
Like, that's kind of the vibe that I
I
get.
can I can neither confirm nor deny any supplements we may need to take in order for that to actually function realistically. But this is
Uh,
mine.
oh man, that's hilarious. No, dude, it's so like I said, it's so interesting at that time because I remember watching it. I actually remember where I was when he launched it. We were living in Iowa. We had moved from Colorado to Iowa, and I remember listening to that and keeping up to date. And like I'd listen to his live streams because at the time I was in a position at a different company,
Mhm.
and the EA app needs to restart. No, the only reason I downloaded that was use my buddy's password, and I don't remember what it is. So
Password sharing, the thing every company hates these days.
yeah, well, I was checking out a game on it. But no, it's one of those things that like I remember when all that launched, and it's cool to kind of talk with somebody who's like on the other side of that, how that was going.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I can't imagine what it was like as somebody that was just on the kind of outside looking in. Like if I was still just, a fan of Eric's YouTube channel for whatever reason, whether it
yeah.
was because of his comic book reviews or because of, his political stuff, whatever it is, like being on that side of it and being like, what the hell?
Well,
Right.
it was one of those things where he's like, I'm gonna do this, and it's like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it. And he's like, and I'm gonna do it different. I was like, all right, again, believe it when I see it. And it was
Believe
one
it
of
when I
those things
see
where,
it. Yeah.
and then he did
And
it,
that's a
and
fair
that's
position to have.
yeah, and that was one of those things. It's like, wow, he actually delivered on what he said he was gonna do, and it was, on my side of it at the time, like that's kind of how, like, talking about Eric and the Rippaverse, kind of how this, my little world got kicked off. I've since like dropped the ball and like lost 90% of the momentum that I had. Um,
Other stuff going on.
well, I have other stuff going on too, and at that time, the internet. At that time, I think, and I mean, you have obviously been on the other, but people just wanted like all of a sudden dividing lines showed up
Oh,
real quick, and everybody they just wanted online gladiatorial stuff, and I was like, guys, I don't care, I don't want to do that. I had a couple of streams here and there where I'm like, no, stop, like everybody knock it off, this is stupid, like what are we
mhm.
doing? And everybody was like, oh, you need to trash this guy or trash that. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And that's the cardinal sin on YouTube, right? If your audience tells
Right.
you to do something, you do it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to lower my integrity for that. I'm sorry. That's just not, I'm not going to do that. And watching and kind of talking with you guys behind the scenes, dealing with some of that stuff, I'm like, this is dumb. This is just dumb.
It's pretty wild. I've had threats of physical violence
Oh,
and
yeah.
death against me for literally no other reason than the fact that I created a comic book character while being attached to Eric. That's it.
It,
That's sad.
it's so like, because I don't work in a world where that stuff happens. What's it like dealing with that crap? And like obviously, I'm sure there are times when you're just like, okay, this one has a little bit more validity than this one. Like, and on top of that, again, working, for Eric, hold your breath and sprint,
Yeah.
because he's just got this breakneck pace that he wants to keep up with, and then on top of that, now you're getting shade from a lot of people, and you got probably thinking to yourself like, okay, how do I not let this affect my day job? Like, what headspace does that put you in?
It's actually for a little while, actually, it was very, very difficult. Um, but it got easier as time went on, and it required intentionality. It required telling myself, because if you have your head screwed on straight, you can actually pretty easily divide out people who are saying they didn't enjoy this particular aspect of this particular book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been a comic book fan since I was 8 years old. I've been doing that for almost 30 years.
Right.
Right. I do that all the time. I
Oh
do
yeah.
that on my weekly comic book review show with my buddy Spencer. Like, that's nothing new. That's just people paid money for something and they are going to enjoy some aspects and not enjoy other aspects. That's just how it works, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
any piece of entertainment for us these days. However, it's easy to tell the difference between that and when somebody is literally just either trying to get a rise out of you or trying to be a jackass, right? Or trying to be even more nefarious than that, right? And so it's important to know that dividing line. And once you do know that dividing line, once you have a grasp on that, muting or blocking all of those who fall on the side of they're literally just trying to cause problems.
Right.
And then the people who are just simply expressing that there was something that they didn't enjoy, engaging with that
Mm-hmm.
and digging a little deeper and finding out, okay, so like what was it about this that you didn't enjoy? What were the things that led you to the conclusion that you wound up at? Let's dig to that, right? Because that's something that we've been critiquing the mainstream media in games, movies, comic books, and all sorts of entertainment about that very thing for the longest time, right? When your fans, actual fans, right? Not Redditors and people on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter who are just like, hey, there's not enough representation of this or whatever, right? Why didn't you ship these two characters together, right? Stuff like that. That's ignorable entirely. But it's important to listen to your actual paying audience to find out, okay, what is it that we can do better that services that audience? You don't, you can't necessarily do every little thing that your audience wants. That's impossible because your audience is going to be made up of a bunch of different individuals. Each of those individuals is going to have a different thing that they're expecting out of the thing that they're consuming, right?
No,
And
but
it's a very, very important thing to be able to say, okay, I hear you and I appreciate you taking the time to actually explain to me what your critiques are with this, right? Like what you didn't enjoy. And I'm going to take that to heart when it's valid criticism
Mhm.
and see what I can do with intentionality as a creative to give you more of what you enjoy, more of what you want. Because I want you to be invested. I want you to have a good time, right?
Well, and you speak. Everybody's got individual criticisms, but oftentimes a lot of it overlaps, and you kind of get the Venn diagram out of,
Mhm.
or even just a graph out, and be like, okay, this person said this person said this person said this, and you kind of plug all those into the different categories, and you go, okay, so most of like 50%, like here's the top 50% that people are saying this has got it, like
Mhm.
obviously these are the big issues.
Right. When the
you
bulk
know
of your audience is saying that's when you start taking a tally, right? Like your audience
mhm,
is telling you there are things that, they're taking issue with in your book,
right.
game, movie, whatever. You know, if one person out of 100
Mhm.
has a particular critique, that's something to take note of.
Oh, yeah.
But if multiple are having the exact same critique,
Mhm.
that's something to start considering. And then when it's all of a sudden a very significant portion, that's when you go, okay, like this is something that I actually have to sort out how to implement in such a way to where my actual, because you want to talk marketing and entertainment, their target demographics. And if your target demographic is telling you that they're taking issue with something that you're doing from a place of sincerity, right? Not from
Right.
a Redditor's stupidity, that's when you have to actually, if you care about your audience, make a decision there.
And that, that's one of the things I've talked with just a bunch of different between authors and comic creators and a couple of people who've done indie movies and people trying to develop board games and stuff like that. And that's one
Hmm.
of those things that everybody is like, look, like you've got to be able to separate the good from the bad, and you've got to be able to know like where a lot of these critiques are coming from, or what the critiques are about, like and you've got to get with like top the top points up here, the bottom points down here, so on and so forth. And that really is the crux of the situation in any sort of creative space. Is it's like, okay, well, I need to build an audience and I need to go for it, and if I'm going to go for it, I got to listen to them. And if they're giving good feedback, like I said, that was one reason that like I was not willing to go the direction that a lot of people wanted me to go. And
Online blood sports are
yeah,
stupid and useless and don't actually benefit anybody in the long run.
yeah. I remember a lot of people telling me they're like very early on, right after I kind of started talking about, the Rippaverse and stuff like that. I remember some people like, oh, you got to watch this show and, watch this show and do a review on it. I'm like, but I've already been told that show is bad. Why would I watch it?
Mhm.
And it's one of those things that it's like, I'm not going to do that. I don't care. And they're like, well, that's how you get the views. I'm like, okay, then I guess I just don't get views then. Like that's I don't tell my children, hey, let's sit down and watch this horrible movie together as a family. Like if I'm not going to subject my kids to it, why would I subject myself to it? And I think that that's where
Your time's more valuable than that.
Oh yeah, way more valuable. Well, and especially as a dad, right?
Yeah.
My time is
Well, it's
way
geometrically more valuable at that point.
right. And it's just one of those things that this is hilarious. Stop, man. But we want you to express our opinions for us, right? I don't
Yeah.
need to do that, man. I mean, go express your opinions yourself, and that, yeah. And, now, like I say, so you traveled through the whole COVID thing. You got through that. You shot your shot. Eric said, hey, come work for me. You've been working for him, handling social media. I know you wear a couple different hats now.
For a guy that doesn't typically wear hats, I wear a lot of hats.
I'm with you there, man.
Carol, it makes more sense. Carol wears a lot of hats, both
Yeah,
literally and
right.
figuratively.
I have one hat that I wear, and I usually throw it on when I'm welding to keep my hair out of my face.
That's smart.
But yeah, it's when your hair catches fire from welding, it doesn't feel too good.
I would imagine. I can't empathize. I cannot relate. But I can imagine.
Yeah, it's not fun. I felt it before. You just sit there and you go, ooh, that tingles. You're like, oh, that's more than a tingle.
That's more than a tingle. Tingle's no longer fun.
Yeah. It's that's how it is. But no, and and so, all right, obviously you've mentioned a little bit where the inspiration came from, but talk about the character Blue Shift, because just comment down below. They're like, it's just a Wally West ripoff, this, that, and the other thing. And I kind of go with the thing. I'm like, I definitely see the inspiration there. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw it, I was like, that's a really similar looking character. However, also nothing's new under the sun.
This is comic books.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel and DC have been ripping each other off for years.
Marvel and DC have been ripping each other off for decades. Both of them have a Scarecrow. Both of them have a Speed Demon. Both of them have analogs to each other, some of which are deliberate knockoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Deadpool and Deathstroke. Deadpool was originally created to literally be a knockoff of Deathstroke. In fact, personality-wise, before he became mean, stupid chimichanga jokes, he was quite literally just Deathstroke for Marvel. So there isn't anything new under the sun, really. But the fact of the matter is, inspiration is a thing, homaging is a thing, and as I said before, Blue Shift, or as his real name is, Zephyr Arland, he is a love letter to several speedsters. There are actually elements both for his supersuits design, his just normal design, and the way that his powers function that are like love letters to several different characters throughout a number of franchises that I love. So it's funny. The Wally West criticism is the funniest one to me because the only time, there have been 2 times where Wally West had the open hair thing, which is the only thing that is meant to be an homage to Wally West. When he was Kid Flash, people also forget he's a orange-haired ginger, not deep tomato red hair.
Right.
As an adult, he had an open half cowl at one point for like 5 minutes within DC Rebirth's continuity. And then they shortly thereafter put him back in more of his classic Flash costume, which is full cowl, because the beauty of the kind of passing the torch from Barry to Wally is that their suits are incredibly similar because he was taking up the mantle of his mentor, right? His uncle. And you can't do much to improve upon Barry Allen's Flash suit because the beauty of the Flash suit is in its simplicity. It's kind of a perfect design. The only improvements you can make are the improvements that were made actually during Mark Waid's run, like where I started with the Flash, where all they did was make some of the lines a little bit more angular and then gave him the whiteout eyes.
Right.
But they actually wound up throwing out the whiteout eyes for whatever reason.
It looks a lot better. I don't like the whiteout eyes personally.
Really? You don't like I love the whiteout eyes.
Not on Flash. Not on Flash. Like Batman's
okay, fair enough.
Like Batman's
okay, fair enough. Like everybody's got a preference. That's okay.
Because I think all of the characters having whiteout eyes, it just kind of becomes samey.
All of them, too many of them doing it. Sure, I can see why that could become.
So you get a couple of them in there for variety, and you're like, okay, this makes sense. It's like
no, absolutely. I think that's fair.
Like I could go either way with Green Lantern, either having whiteout eyes or just like the glowing green, like irises.
Yeah.
Because
I could probably go either way. In animation, I think it looks better when it's the whiteout eyes.
Yeah. I tend to agree, but like if you get somebody who's got some serious talent, they can make like the glowing green irises just look really freaking cool.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
but absolutely agree with that.
Again, it's just and it depends on the character.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, I mean, I know that they do the whiteout eyes so that way they don't have to draw the detail of the eyes. Like that's
well, I know that's part of the reason why I did it because I'm not an artist, and so I was like, all right, well, I already like the whiteout eyes, so this is just like super convenient for me when I'm doing the initial design. Because normally we got Marcos, right, who's our concept artist, but I was very determined and stubborn to where I was like, I am going to design my character's super suit because it's that important to me, right? If he gets hit in Golden Race Fall everywhere, I'll have questions. There are actually several tie-ins to Sonic the Hedgehog, both in his design as well as in his powers, visually anyway, but it's nothing so overt as that. That would be a little... I'd be getting a knock on my door from Sega being like, hey, what you doing over there?
so he does not need the Master Emerald.
He doesn't need the Master Emerald, nor the Chaos Emeralds, nor the Super Emeralds, which are still defunct after Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Yes, I know my Sonic history. So there was a lot taken into account with his design. There's less from Flash than any of the other references, ironically enough. Most of the time, it's people who have never read Flash comics that just immediately go to Flash. And those are the same people that typically go to Flash when they see any speedster.
I mean, well, yeah, because he's the most popular one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so every single speedster gets compared to the Flash.
If you say speedster, people aren't going to think Sonic.
No, no, they think the Flash.
Most people aren't even going to jump to Quicksilver. They're just like that they're not going to do that.
Fewer
They're
people
going
know Velocity, even fewer people know Excel, even fewer people know Doc Rocket. Like there's a ton of speedsters out there that nobody knows who they are because they've just heard of the Flash. The Flash is the most iconic. And so if they see a speedster, they automatically think Flash, regardless of whether or not any of the Flash was taken into account in the design. And hey, you know what? Fair enough. That just is a credit to, DC's creatives that created the character, where it's like, hey, man, like you have the character that's the most prevalent and permeating in this archetype in history. Like nobody's gonna like Quicksilver. He's not half as popular as like the least popular Flash. Right? Like it's like, I'm sorry. And it's just gonna be and that's the thing with speedsters, it just kind of like drops further and further in
Oh, yeah.
terms of like the mainstream. Everybody just thinks the Flash, and that's okay. I'm not trying to compete with the Flash. I just love the archetype. And so I wanted to bring what I love about the archetype and what I love about superheroes, genuine superheroes, into the Rippaverse when I created Blue Shift. And so what kind of sets him apart is how his powers work, but that's kind of a spoiler. As far as his character,
I
though,
hate you.
he's got the thing with, I'll say this much.
You're pulling that.
I'm
You guys, you got to see it to believe it. And I'm just like,
the I have a real sticking point when it comes to power scaling. And speedsters are an archetype that can really break your universe's power scaling very easily if you let it get away from you. And they can get away from you very quickly because they're speedsters.
Like DC did with Flash, and every
Yeah.
time they need a reset, they're just like, no, he's just going to run really fast this time.
Yeah, like well, you start having things where like, oh, the Flash, shoot, it was, I don't want to say it was like 2 years ago. Speaking of Wally West, he outran the concept of infinity. Don't ask how that works. It's because comics. It's because comics, right? It's just like you get to this point where it's like, if you do that with a speedster of all types of characters, like you are inviting and opening yourself up to just having to somehow one up yourself every single time, or completely conveniently nerf your character just for a story to work. And that's bad writing, as far as I'm concerned. It's bad writing if you're trying to write an expanding universe that's going to have any like legitimacy and longevity, right? Because you can't just be constantly playing power scaling, and leveling up. I can't just like say, well, Zephyr's just going to go Super Saiyan 3 today because he needs it, right? Like that's bad storytelling if you're just writing things out of convenience. And so he actually has something that most speedsters do not have, which is a massive detriment and negative side effect to his powers. And there's a lot that the storytelling has to do with that. And no, it's not that he just gets hungry or needs a nap in order to refuel. That's not it. That's the easy route. That's not the route that I went with. He actually has something severely debilitating as a side effect to his powers.
Well, and I think that's one of the things too, is a lot of superheroes nowadays get to a point where they don't have that limitation on them. And it's like, oh, they're just like, they have nothing to overcome lately. I think that's why, you want to talk about a ripoff of, I mean, go look at, Izuku Midoriya from My Hero Academia. Like, I mean, the mangaka was a Spider-Man fan.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Like,
and the way that he draws him, a lot of his movements. 100%. 100%. A lot of people, they kind of, and I try not to entertain disingenuous detractors because it's not really worthy of my time. But I'll say this. There are a lot of people who kind of show their hand when they make certain critiques. And what it is that they're showing their ignorance. Because I could show several examples within Marvel and DC alone of them having characters that are far more similar to each other in design and personality than my character is to anyone. And so it's just, it all comes back to, unfortunately, association. If I was just a nobody, which I'm still technically a nobody. I haven't made a name for myself or anything like that. But if I was just wholly independent, hey, what's up, Garfield? And I was, say, just doing a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo independently, right? I picked an artist. We're doing a crowdfunder. I'm not attached to anybody. 99.9% of the people, which, to be fair, is already a small amount of people that are actually acting like this. The vast majority, if not all of them, wouldn't have anything to say because it wouldn't matter because I wouldn't be attached to Eric July.
And and that, like I said, that whole situation.
Tribalism is gay.
Well, like I said, that's heck, it just got to a point where everybody was like, dude, they're like, you got to pick this side, this, that, and another thing. I'm like, I don't care. I remember I had somebody that was like, hey, dude, you should host a debate on Iron Age versus Comicsgate. And I'm like, that's stupid.
But why?
I was like, but why? And they're like, well, because because I've had people from both sides like pitching their stuff.
Because that show was just promoting indie comics.
Yeah, I don't know if you understand this. I don't care what like your clique is. Do you have a comic that looks like something that people would be interested in? Like your comic, because I'm not promoting Comicsgate comics. I'm not promoting Iron Age comics. I'm promoting you, the creator, and the thing that you made. And that's it. Now, if we want to talk about those things during the show, during the interview, talking about your, fine. That's a part of you, the creator. I'm not here to promote your clique, right?
Yeah.
If you want to promote your clique, go to your clique. I don't care.
You're grown. You buy a webcam. Yeah. Get a laptop. Use your phone. Stream. Bitch online about whatever it is you want to bitch about, all on your own. You grown,
dude.
Do you need? Why people have the need in this day and age to have other people validate their feelings for them is the gayest shit I have ever encountered in my adult life. And I used to live an hour and a half away from San Francisco.
Yes, yeah. That does explain a lot, though. But
kiss my ass. You kiss my entire white ass. I kind of left myself over.
You did. It's just I can't.
I can't even be mad. Right?
If you're gonna do a slow pitch down home plate, dude, I'm gonna hit it.
Like, man, I'm granny shotting the thing for you. Sure, why not? If the thing's only gonna be flying at 5 miles an hour, I'll smack it out of the park. Bases are loaded. Why not?
No, it's I think I will say this. I think there was a point in time when it was stuff like that was kind of important, like especially rewind all the way back to The Last Jedi, which that was like the first meteorite that really hit a lot. I'm not saying there weren't ones before that, but that was like the big one, right? Like there was like
that was one of the biggest fracture points in a fandom,
because I mean you have I don't know what was going back and forth at the time, but it was either like Star Wars and Pokemon were like neck and neck up there. Like that's how massive these medias were. And when everybody's going, wait a minute, what the heck? What's going on with Star Wars? What you're just reading all these reviews online. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so great. And you're just like, okay, no, because I didn't watch it. I've not seen any of the Disney ones because I knew what was going to happen.
Oh well, God bless you.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that. I saw that from a mile away. I saw that, and I'll tell you when I saw it. When they went in and they said we're going to decanonize all the EU, which admittedly they needed.
That was a big red flag.
Well, no, that wasn't a red flag for me. That wasn't the red flag. I was irritated about it, but I was like, okay, maybe they just need to go through it and figure out like, okay, what? Because there was a lot that was bad because George Lucas was just letting anybody put stuff out there. So I was like, okay, maybe they're just
the EU has a lot of amazing stories. It does also have a lot of crap.
It's got more crap than good from what I've heard from people who've gone through it extensively. But I was like, all right, I was like, this is irritating. I was like, and I was like, you know what though? But maybe they just had to do it because they have to figure out, which most of that was they didn't want to pay the rights to the creators anymore. Come to find out, that was years later. But so they decanonize all that. They separate themselves from that. And then 3 months later, they come out and they go, well, we've got to tell our own story now. But like, we don't have books and comics to go off of like Marvel does. And I was like, oh, and you're lying to me. I don't even
Oh,
call that
you mean
gaslight.
all those books that you threw out?
And I was like, and that was the moment I was like, I am never going to watch it. I was like, because if they're comfortable lying to me, they're comfortable selling me something that isn't going to be good.
Oh yeah.
And that's when I wrote it off. And I kept telling people, I'm like, it's done, it's over. They're like, no, you gotta have faith. Like, you don't understand. Like, George Lucas totally screwed up the, totally screwed up, dude. Pokemon Dwarf Star Wars back in 2005. Yeah, probably. No, you're probably right. But
In terms of like as a profitable global brand,
Yeah.
that is true.
yeah, but as far as like pop culture significance, I mean, but again, so I never watched it. Well, when Last Jedi comes out, even my friends are like, what's happening here? And I'm morbid curiosity. I'm like, I knew what I was. I ended up finding like Nerdrotic through that, or maybe I think I'd already been watching Nerdrotic, and then I found Mahler through that one. I found a bunch of people. I think I started. I can't remember if I was already familiar with Eric or not, but I started watching, and then they kept doing it to more properties. And at a certain point, it was like, okay, I'm not insane, right? At a certain point, there was like, okay, I'm not insane. I know I know what I believe. I know what good stories look like. I know what I enjoy. And there are people out there who also believe the same thing as me. Awesome. And it went from being like, okay, cool, I'm not alone in the world, to what you said, you as the creator have to validate my opinion. And when that shift happened, that's when, and I just started seeing a lot of people kind of act like that. I was like, I don't need to do this though.
I'm not about that.
I'm not about that. Like, yeah,
I respect more somebody who has a completely different position than me on something, just being honest about that, because we can find other things to agree on, right? If And of all things, if it's something that's just pop culture related at the end of the day, which is a luxury
Yep.
and disposable for the most part, it's not something that's eternal.
Yeah.
Right? It's not something that's everlasting. You can't take that with you.
Yep.
Right? Sure, you can have storytelling that layers in immutable, undying, universal truths and even good morals and good lessons. I mean, shoot, take a look at, Narnia from C.S. Lewis, or, Tolkien's works, who he was more subtle with his layer, except for in the Silmarillion. That's literally just Genesis. First, it's absolutely just Genesis. Whereas C.S. Lewis was far more overt and kind of on the nose with it being kind of just a one-to-one type of a thing, but it was still beautiful storytelling. And so they were injecting good, positive messaging into their stories. That's important. But at the end of the day, it's still all just entertainment. And so I don't need, whether it's a creator or one of my friends or someone in my family, to hold the exact same position as me on something in entertainment.
Yeah.
That I can't be bothered to care enough about that.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I did a lot too is it's like, I didn't, people would sit there and they were like, well, you can't talk bad about this because you haven't watched it. And I was like, well, one, I'm not talking bad about the thing I haven't watched because I haven't watched it. What I am talking
You can
bad
talk about your impressions from the trailer.
No. Well, oh yeah. Oh, I do that. I do that a lot. I called the Devil May Cry Netflix series. I called that from the 20-second teaser that they put out.
You did. And I'll even take the L, because when they put that out initially, I was like, I like this animation. But then, and I remember specifically in the YouTube replies, you saying like, I got a real bad feeling about this. I see a lot of red flags, especially like the fact you had Annie Shane Carr attached to it. And then like, I haven't actually seen the series because like, I didn't have time like the week or weekend that it dropped. And then people who I knew and actually trust watched it. And they were like, oh man, like, I know you liked the animation in the trailer. You're not going to enjoy this because I know you enjoy the games. And they like started listing out all these things. And I was like, oh, really?
I called it.
That's the thing. Like, I hate being, because we talk about this all the time. Like, I don't go into something wanting to dislike it. I don't open up a comic book and go, man, I hope this is garbage so I can bitch about it on YouTube, right? I don't play games so I can, cry about it on X or wherever else. I want to enjoy something that I not only spent my hard-earned money on, but also am spending my non you know, spending my time on, spending something I can't get back. I can, because even you can make back money, but what are you spending to get money? Time, right? So I don't want to expend either of those things on something I'm not going to enjoy. And
Exactly.
so once enough people whom I genuinely trust were telling me, man, like, I know you were hopeful for this. You're
Like,
not gonna be pleased with it. Don't
I,
don't bother.
I
It's
mean,
like, man,
I,
it's,
there,
it's
I, after you've seen enough of them go down, like I remember, I told my buddy, I told my buddy, we were like, when The Walking Dead was at like its peak at the time, and they had just done season 4, and that was
I
when
only saw season one.
yeah, yeah. But we were watching it. It was a big thing, and they get to a point where they end up killing Herschel in like the 4th season. And I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe they're going to have the stones to actually do some decent writing here and actually commit to, everything that they've set up. And within 3 episodes after, actually within 2 or 3 episodes after that one, yeah, I was like, it's done. It's over. Called my buddy. I was like, this show's done. It's lost all of its teeth. It doesn't have. And he was like, no, dude, no, it's still going to be good. I'm like, no, it's not. And then season 5 came out and the complaints started rolling. But I was like, well, it wasn't that bad. It was okay. And then season 6 came out and people were just like, okay, and the complaints started. And my buddy's like, dude, how the hell? And then it just
That
kept
show was the biggest thing on the planet for a little while,
again,
and then it fell off a cliff, and nobody was talking about it anymore.
Basically, seasons 1 through 4. Season 1 is the best, bar none. It doesn't get any better than that. They started deviating from the comics from there. They also had contractual issues that they had. That's part of the reason they had to deviate. They had a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes, this, that, and the other thing. But if they were going to deviate from the comics, they should have done it in a good way. And I had people that were like, no, the show was going to be good. And I was like, dude, it's done. It's over. I called it there. I was like, no, they lost the plot. My buddy's like, how the hell did you see it, dude? I'm like, it's not that hard. Story threads are threads. Now, obviously, there's a difference between threads and telling, right? There's a difference between plot lines, and it's like, okay, they teed off these plot lines, followed through with none of them in the next few episodes. And then not only that, but they got to a point where it's like, oh, they're comfortable. How are we going to get them out? Zombies. And after like the 57th time you see them do that, you're just like, okay, this is
we're just recycling the same plot points over and over in order to extend the thing.
And then for me it got to a point where I wasn't watching this stuff, but what I would do is I would look into like yeah, let's not forget Royce is a Supernatural fan. He's ridden a dead horse one too many times. Yeah, I didn't even watch the last season.
I only saw the first 4 or 5 seasons of Supernatural.
I will say this, the first 5 seasons of Supernatural I will put up as some of the best television that's ever been put to TV.
I loved the show.
Period.
I absolutely loved the show.
It's not super worth it into season 6. I still find enjoyment out of some of the stories that they told, but they got to a point where I was just like, this is just not. I didn't even watch the final season. I was just like, this show, it's. And here's the problem too. They tried ending it like 3 or 4 times, and the problem was that the CW just kept dropping truckloads of money in their driveways.
Right. Please keep it going. Well, it's because it was one of the shows that was keeping them going.
Yeah, that was the show. Smallville is greater than Supernatural.
I love Smallville. It has some really rough seasons.
It's towards the end. All of them have rough seasons towards the end. They all.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they all have strong seasons though. But going back to like what I was saying before I got derailed is one of the things people were telling me is like, well, you can't complain about this thing that you haven't watched. I'm like, I'm not. I'm reading what the directors and the writers are saying about the thing, and I'm talking about what they're talking about. And people were like, and I'm like, I'm not talking about the show. I'm talking about the comments of the people making the show. Very big distinction there. Happens to tie into the show.
Sure.
and because people just got it in their head that like you've got to watch this thing, you have to watch it so we don't have to. You've got to hate watch it and rage debate about it and all this stuff. And I'm
Because
just
a
like,
lot of people are used to that because there are a lot of channels that will do that. And you know what? To their credit, they're able to write that off as on their taxes anyway, right? And that's fine if you want that, but you already have a number of channels that do that.
well,
Why do you need just another channel doing the same thing?
and look at how that has infected the culture. Look, this is kind of where I'm tying it into. Is you get people that are just like, we've got to hate watch, we've got to rage bait, and now
Mhm.
it's infected the indie comic space, it's infected book
Man.
spaces, people are like, oh, if you think this is bad, you should go to this. But guys, it's everywhere. It's not isolated. It has like we got to a point where instead of looking for catharsis to find like-minded individuals,
Mm.
it went from that to I need to be, dude, anger is, I don't know if you know
Anger's
this.
addictive.
Anger is one of those sins in the Bible that they're like, you shouldn't do this. They're like, don't let the sun set on your anger for a
Mhm.
reation.
Yeah.
For a
And too many people have
reason.
been living in anger and obsessed with anger and obsessed with perpetuating their
Mm.
anger and promulgating lies in order to perpetuate their anger through others because they're angry and therefore they need other people to be angry with them in order to validate their anger, which is honestly not even really justified to begin
Yeah.
with.
And I got to a point with all of it where I was just like, I don't even know what kind of, like, there is a type of YouTube content I want to do. I need to get, like I said, I'm working with the kids right now on, catechism and all that. We're doing nightly prayers and stuff like that. So I'd
Mhm.
have to figure out how I would even fit video creation into my day-to-day right now. But, there's a type of content creation that I would do, and I think it would play well. But one, it'd take a lot of time to produce, which, time is of value. And two, and it doesn't follow any of that. And I'm gonna be honest, if I ever start that channel, I'm not gonna say shit over here. I'm gonna shadow drop it and I'm just gonna let it grow. And the
Right?
reason being is
You
because
don't want to tie it into something that has maybe a built-in audience for more of a specific type of content. I
well,
get that.
I think my audience over here would love it. I really do. But I know that once you start sharing it on, and that one audience goes over from like your small channel, that
Mhm.
has a tendency. Whereas if you just kind of let it go and let it grow organically away from your original audience, once it grows to a certain point, then you can kind of be like, hey, by the way, OG audience, I have this thing over here.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing to see because honestly, the indie comic sphere really had this awesome opportunity due to the boom and kind of prevalence of you know the existence of crowdfunding as now an option, and
Mm,
therefore a lot of creatives who would not have had an opportunity before all of a sudden had an opportunity. And therefore, they can now bring something to the table. And this was a great chance for so many more voices
mhm.
to be brought into an entertainment medium that was in dire need of having some lifeblood re-injected into it. And we do still see that. I saw Hero Darky Dark here in the chat. I know that his stuff has been doing very well.
Mhm.
I actually got my Phenomenova T-shirt in today in the mail from Von Coleman. I
That's
love Vaughn. Shout out to him. I'm a big fan of him. There are a lot of incredible voices in the indie comic sphere, and indie comics needs to not become what people who criticize the mainstream of doing, becoming exactly that,
yeah.
right?
Well, the other thing too is that if you're an indie guy, the one thing that I'm telling people, it's going to cost you some money. Get a booth, get a booth, get a standee,
You have to
go
get in front
get,
of eyes of
yep,
people who want
find.
to actually buy comics. Just the internet is not good enough.
No, it's not. The internet, like if you want people to buy your comic, go set up at a con. Go find a local bookstore that'll let you set up. Go find a local game shop that'll let you set up. I
Mhm.
know guys that are walking into game shops and they're like, "Hey, would you be interested in this? I'll sell it to you for a good price." And there are people that are like, "Yeah," like I know people that are like, "Man, like they once people grabbed it, they loved it and they bought it.
Yeah.
We just need more stock and get a ground team." Like that's what's going to, because here's the thing. when people are going into game stores, when people are going into cons, when people are going out into the world, people are going out into the world to find something they enjoy and to spend time with enjoyment. People are
People go
going
on the internet not
online.
to enjoy things.
Exactly. They go online to enter this world of just rage and anger. And if that's where you're going to sell your books, guess what? You're not going to be putting it in front of the people who are most likely to buy your stuff. Like
Vast majority of the sales that we make when we go to conventions for the Rippaverse are all completely new people.
yeah.
Most of them, like let's say out of 100, just to throw a number out there, 2 or 3 might have heard of us, but not known anything about us. The rest never heard of us before. They're just walking by the booth. Caro's there being all bouncy and and fun and being a great salesperson. I'm there trying to be that. Depends.
You could have stopped. I'm not as good at there.
Yeah, fair. I'm not as good at it as Caro is, but they just they see people who are smiling, people that look like they're having a good time, and they see some comic books on a table with some cool covers. And if they're interested in comic books, it catches their eyes. And then, we take that opportunity, we start a conversation with them. I try to approach it from an angle of, hey, what brought you to the con? So I can kind of get a feel of like, all right, what are the things that actually interest this person? And do we have something that aligns with that? Because I'm not going to try and shove something down somebody's throat if there's zero relatability there, right? I'm not gonna try and be like, oh, well, you're a massive I don't know, for the sake of argument, Game of Thrones fan, just for sake of argument, right? I'm gonna say, oh, well, Blue Shift's gonna be perfect for you, right? Like that. No, I'm not that guy, right? I don't work for GameStop anymore. I don't have to do that,
right?
So I want to relate to people because I want people to get invested in the books for the books. I want them to enjoy them because they enjoy them. I don't want them to just buy something out of obligation. I don't want them to praise it out of obligation. I want them to enjoy the parts they enjoy and let us know what parts they didn't enjoy so that we can take those as notes going forward to improve upon what we're doing. Like when people read Blue Shift Tryouts, my short story debut in Ripazine 5, I want them to be like, hey, like I liked this, and this, and this over here, though, I feel like could have been better. And then elaborate like what their thoughts were on that. Like, don't just say, hey, this sucks. Say, hey, this part like felt lacking for me. And I feel like it could have been improved. Maybe here are some options to think about. Okay, cool. That's legitimate. Those are notes. I can take those notes and I can, just as we talked about before, I can compile those along with other people's notes and say, oh, well, it looks like a good portion of people are giving me kind of this exact same note. That's something I should probably take into account.
What's really, really cool and kind of what I find like more valuable on my end. We're going to close out here in just a minute, but, and I'll give you the final word after I say this.
Yeah.
But what's really cool on my end is I get to talk to a lot of people that are making this stuff. So when I do finally get around to reading their stuff, I'm like, hey, I just read it. And they're like, cool. What do you think? And I'm like, all right, you know what Pandora's box you just opened.
Yeah.
And I've voice chatted with people, phone calls, and just brutally honest with them. But by brutally honest, I just mean I'm not holding anything back, right? It's like I'm going to tell you. When I had Lord Otter on, and I even said it on the stream, I'm like, them first few chapters were just, I wasn't sure that I was going to hang, dude. I was like 45 pages in, and I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to hang. But then once I got to a certain chapter of the book, it's like all of a sudden, Lord Otter became a writer in that chapter, and the rest of the book was fire. Like, I couldn't put it down, dude. I cleared almost the entire book in a day, which does not happen for guys like me.
But that's still an important note to let a writer know, like, hey, you're good, because you're going to have readers, right, where they're like you in those first couple of chapters. And instead of pushing through, they say, this isn't worth my time.
Yeah.
Right?
And I almost said that, but I had Otter coming on. He was going to talk about his new book. So I was like, all right, well, I know I'm going to push through. And I'm freaking glad that I did. But
that's awesome.
And then I was able to sit with him, you know, after we got off stream and talk with him more and be like, okay, let's workshop why, because I kind of knew
Mhm.
and kind of didn't, and then I was like, okay, and then talking with him, he was like, okay, and you know what he tells me? He goes, yeah, basically, he's like, that's a lot of the feedback that I got from people who read it. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
okay, cool.
Then it
And he,
sounds like it's something that he was probably going to take to heart moving forward.
yeah, yeah,
And that's
so
being a good creative.
yeah, so
That's being somebody who wants to um, respect their target audience and
oh yeah,
continue to grow their audience. Right.
mm-hmm.
And that's important. Like you have to have a certain level. I want to be very careful because pride is absolutely a sin. You have to have and be able to take, I should say, a certain level of pride in what you do as a creative to a healthy degree, because otherwise, like putting yourself out there, like, man, if you don't have a
Well,
small level
it,
of pride to be able, like, I'm proud of this thing. I hope other people enjoy this thing. I'm gonna put it out there. Right.
well, and what you're talking about too, I think, is the cross between like fortitude and humility.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to have the fortitude to know what you've done is the best that you can, but the humility to know that
It's not the best that you
it's
can
not
do.
it's well not I mean not the best that you can do tomorrow.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
have to have the humility to be told by other people you made this mistake and you've got to be humble enough to take that.
Yeah. That way you
So,
can correct it and just be better on the next one, right? You should always be striving. Each thing that you put out, your goal should be for it to be better than the last thing you put out.
yep, I don't disagree. Well, Mr. Andrew, where can we find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever, dead name it. I don't care. I'm not your mom.
Uh-huh.
At Dokimandrew on X. You can find me at Caffeinated Wolf on YouTube and Twitch and Instagram and TikTok. Yes, I have one of those, and it's because I have to run hours at the Rippaverse. And you can find me also on Foil Variant every Thursday, except for next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So don't look for me and Spencer on YouTube. We won't be there. You should be with your families. So don't look for us. I shouldn't even be telling you what to do. I'm not your mom. But we do weekly comic book review streams every single Thursday at around 6:30 p.m. talking about the books that we picked up from our local comic book shops. We talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, what was meh, what was blah, what was wow. And we give it to you from a intellectually honest perspective, regardless of who wrote it, who drew it. If we enjoyed it, we'll be honest about it. If we didn't enjoy it, even if it's a creator that we do like, we'll let you know this was a miss. We believe in calling balls and strikes and calling it down the middle. If somebody puts out good work, we believe that good work should be recognized. And if somebody puts out bad work, it should be noted and said, hey, you know what? This person wrote a bunch of bangers, but this one wasn't one of them, you know, type of a thing. And then those of you who are not aware, I wrote a short story in Ripazine number 5. It's called Blue Shift Tryouts. This is the introduction to Zephyr Arland, who is a teenage Except. Excepts are basically our metahumans in the Rippaverse. And this day is the first day that he is being allowed to attend a quote unquote normal school. And that's because his family has a secret. His family secret is that there are Excepts involved, and he is one of them. And so he is going to encounter a lot of situations for the very first time that he has zero experience with whatsoever. And he's going to have to deal with those while also being an Except. And his Except ability is he has super speed. And he is going to go through a lot of hurdles. He's going to encounter a lot of situations that I hope a lot of people can relate to. The point for creating his character was to have a character who would eventually be our heart of gold classic superhero where I could tell fun stories. The inspiration for him was Spider-Man and Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, he's a speedster. So yes, some people are automatically just thinks Flash because he's a speedster. But character-wise, he's Sonic and Spidey. He's quippy. He's sassy. He's meant to be fun. He's meant to be a character where people who even kind of tend to gravitate towards shonen mangas, which are fun and action-packed and flashy, the stories that I want to tell with him down the road, lean into that. Because I think that the Rippaverse, though we have a lot of really cool characters, a lot of really interesting characters, a lot of characters with fantastic designs, we tend to have a lot of darker or more morally gray or very morally complex characters, even if those characters happen to be good at heart. We don't yet have that heart of gold, light in the darkness character. And Zephyr is meant to be that spark of light. So those of you that have supported Rippaverse number 5 already, thank you so much for giving me a shot. Those are actually being assembled at the printer right now. They're going to be shipping to the warehouse next week, then shipped off after I signed the signed copies. I'm sure there's probably only like 5 of them to CGC for those to get slabbed and graded, and then we'll ship those out, and hopefully those will be out to people by Christmas. But thank you so much for all your support. I have a lot of pride, and I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the creation of this character. There's a lot of him that means a lot to me, from my years growing up as a comic book fan and what my dad introduced me to when it comes to comics. So I hope you have fun with the story. And please, if you do read the story, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't like. Let me know what you'd like to see more of, like to see less of. I'm here to hear all of it. Just try not to be a dick in the process, please.
And on that note, oh, I love that. Just try to, you know, just be nice.
So need to be a dick. I mean, like, hey, say you didn't like something, please. Say you don't like his face, but say why you don't like his face. Don't just say you don't like his face.
Because he looks
you say
like
you don't like my
anyways.
face. Wow. They're more likely to say that about me, I'm sure. But probably just because of your influence.
Probably, yeah. I'm okay with it. I'm good with it. Mario Trujillo, thank you for the $2, man. I appreciate you. God bless. Oh, gosh. Bat Sauce, I want credit for Red Ship, who has a clock and rides a motorcycle.
I know exactly what you're talking about. If I were to create a rival Speedster, there would be Shadow influence. But no, he would not have a Glock and ride a motorcycle.
Why not? That's a great idea.
Because that's Shadow. But I would probably love if Keanu Reeves voiced him. That'd be cool. Jason Griffith, ladies and gentlemen, of Sonic and Shadow voice acting from both Sonic X and the video games for almost a decade. He voiced my character, Zephyr Arlen, in the trailer for Zine 5. Check that out on our YouTube channel.
That's super dope. I'll drop that trailer real quick. That's really cool, man.
That was a blessing and a half, man.
That's so cool. Oh, thank you so much for being here, everybody. I absolutely appreciate it. God bless. Don't forget to say your prayers. That's where I'm off to right now with the kiddos. And as always, until next time, cheers, everybody.